Greetings everyone, this is Gulab here, and now I'm continuing with part 2 of the creation story in the Rig Veda. Okay, so we were talking about the different numbers and different words in the Vedas and how there's many different meanings and different, so here we go. And the numbers go even more crazier in both Tamil and Sanskrit. In Tamil, the word therthugal is for the fractional number 1 over, I will just read this number. I don't know how to say it, but it's 2, 323, 824, 530, 227, 200, 000, 000. Numani is for another fractional number, which is, and it's 1 over this very long number. Mahayugam is for 10, and there's a little upside down V, 37. There are still much bigger numbers like Mahakatana, and there's a number there. Bodhisattva, another number I can't even describe. Jyotiba, which are listed in various sacred scriptures and treatises. Now, this is the setup we have to start with. Nasadiya Shukta. When we say in the beginning means the beginning, much before this super crazy cosmos, the infinity, the illusion, the primordial time, and so on, not much smaller scales like the universe or Big Bang or any other singularities. All right, and now is going to go through the Nasadiya Shuktam in very explanatory, each word by word translation and all this. So I'm going to skip over this part because it's just so elaborate. Okay, and then I can leave you the link to this. So if you want to read over all the different Sanskrit words and what they mean and all this kind of stuff, then you can do that for those of you who are very Sanskrit scholars. So I'm scrolling down. There's translation in English, translation in French, translation in, what's the next language? Espanol, translation in Italiano. Okay, now we're here. We're at the explanation. The Nasadiya Shukta begins by stating paradoxically, na asad asit no sad asit. Not non-existence was, nor was existence. In this stanza, they are really talking about a time and state that is truly pre-primordial in nature, which is beyond human beings' comprehension and even supreme beings' perception. Here, the word ambas is mostly translated as water. Though ambas means celestial waters, it has other meanings like power or fruitfulness, etc. as well. But if we consider gahanam gabiram from the same line, which means impervious, hard to understand, strange abyss or mystery, then that is not the place where one can find water, but a cosmic mystery. So ambas should be translated as immeasurable flowing, undulating cosmic mystery or force or power. Throughout this stanza, everything seems to be in impenetrably inexplicable, dense, deep-sounding abyss of mystery, where existent and non-existent state of both existence and non-existence are existentially non-existent. In the second stanza, however, to warm up, they started to use known terms like death, immortality, night and day, paralleling the first two lines of the first stanza. But again, they revert to another paradox. Quote, that one breathed breathlessly on its own, end quote. The usage of Tad Ekam, that one, is just utter brilliance. Both words are neuter genders, which yield no clue about its nature. It is supposed to mean the prior stage, unevolved state of the Brahman, the Nada Brahman, the creation as principle. But what is going on here? Breathed without breath? It is supposed to mean that one was alive and waiting to happen, despite the complete absence of the means to exist, the act of existing and everything else. And they categorically state this in the next line that, quote, other than that one, there was in no way anything else at all. In the third stanza, they highlight tamas, the darkness, not just the pitch black darkness, but also the darkness of ignorance. That is the absence of available information and the darkness of veil put on by illusion, indiscriminate, heaving cosmic waves of all sorts were there, but we may not perceive them because of darkness, ignorance, and illusion. Concealed in the tenebrous void was the unborn germ of immense power, dormant and hibernating, waiting to burst out. As we are expecting the immense power to burst out, something else happens. A rose was that, born of might. Mahinaja can also be translated as birth of might. They are talking about a raw entity with no name, but which has all attributes of a thing called mind. They are trying to figure it out, what it is indeed, which is so powerful and mighty that could render tapas. Yes, they are indeed talking about the birth of mind, a raw primal mind, but without giving it a name yet, which seeks to join itself and have unison with the ekam, that one, ready to endure, to render, to manifest, tapas, deep thought. Tapas is wrongly translated as its literal meaning, heat, but tapas is a very common term in Hinduism which means penance, deep meditation or intense effort. Here we are talking about the intense inner heat of mind when it is rendered complete still. So in this stanza, slowly somewhat concrete concepts emerge out of abstraction, like darkness, heaving cosmic waves, void, unborn germ of power, mind, and tapas. In the fourth stanza, kama is introduced, which has many meanings, but here it acts as desire, willpower, playing the role of virile semen, whirls into ekam, that one, penetrating it and entering into its freshly born and mated mind, playing the role of receptacle, ovum. Only here they are naming it as mind, manas. It was once raw, unnamed, and unknown. Now it became mind, only because it mated with ekam, that one, in the previous stanza. The desire descends into it in a recurring, repeating, and replicating manner. Avartata, agitating, stirring, churning, and fusing things. Now the unborn power, left hanging in the third stanza, the mind, tapas, deep thought, all come together inside ekam, that one, to create the primal seed which is born of mind, pregnant with desire, a desire to exist, to create itself, to burst out, to expand, and to evolve. That great lineage of sages who are relentlessly questioning and searching deep inside their hearts with wisdom, now they found out this desire was responsible for all things, but foremost the kinship of existence in non-existence. These two are nagging their minds since the beginning. So the first thing they wanted to find out was, what are they, and what is their kinship? Now they found out, and things are really starting to happen. The fifth stanza, now these sages place their mind's eye everywhere, sending, diffusing, broadcasting mighty rays of their splendorous intellect, searching actively below and above, downwards and upwards, beneath and beyond. They started to identify things, impregnating forces, glorious powers, the requirement of spontaneous powers to lie beneath, to actively create new things, of intentional efforts, willpower, to lie above, to actively expand, render, and make things evolve, and so on. From here on, the usage of ekam is dropped out. Since it got manifested and started to evolve, it will be called in future as Vishurti, the primal creation. The sixth stanza, and now that they have perceived it all, understood the nature of pre-primordial time and state, the nature of ekam, that one, the immensity of the cosmos, how things unfolded, infinity, illusion, and all. Here, their unburdened, skeptical minds kicks in. As Carl Sagan so eloquently put, these sages, with their tradition of skeptical questioning and unself-conscious humility before the great cosmic mysteries, they started to question and doubt their own inference, acquired knowledge and wisdom, how much this could be true. For the devas, gods, these so-called superior beings with, say, some 11-dimensional vision or senses, even they themselves came only after the creation. Note the name change. From here on, they started to use the word Vishurti. Western scholars wrongly translate it as V plus Shushti, secondary creation. Because of the prefix V, which has multiple meanings, among them are division in two parts and so on, but in has also other meanings as distinction, ordered in detail in others. So the proper translation is, quote, a different type of distinct creation or creation with intensity, which is primal in nature, end quote, which is supposed to mean creation as principle, the ultimate supreme reality. So who can, with at most certainty, proclaim what is the true nature of reality and how things really unfolded? Final stanza. This creation unfolded and evolved from ekam, that one, whence it came into full being, whether it is self-made, a Svayambhu akin to linga, which is sinisterly interpreted as Shiva's phallus, whereas its true meaning is simply a symbol, depicting the sacred energy, the sacred sound nada, self-manifesting out of an hourglass drum, out of its membrane, on its own accord, or for this creation, whether there involved any influence of some external forces. As the dweller who is wealthy in knowledge, Adyaka, who has superior powers to perceive, observe things, Adyaksha, and who took abode in extreme heavens, perhaps he indeed knows all, or possibly even he knows nothing at all. This part really, I was so happy to read this part about Shiva, the Shiva Linga, because I always thought that was strange to me. I never saw that as Shiva's phallus, and I always thought that was a weird interpretation. I knew there was something wrong with that, and I'm so glad that this author is pointing that out, that it is sinisterly interpreted as that, and it actually means symbol. Shiva's symbol, that's what it is, and it's not that. Thank gosh. Yeah, that was such an uplifting part to me. So now that makes me feel better about the Shiva Lingas and the Shiva Linga worship, now that I know it's not the phallus, thankfully. Okay, now this continues. Notes, number 1. No matter how hard I try, I'm in no way be able to translate the poetical beauty and the intended real meaning of these hymns. In just 7 hymns, we are immediately transported to a mysterious place where nothing exists in the beginning, and slowly, with accompanying narration of lyrical beauty, sounds, aspirated phonemes, breathings, and Vedic accent, we are shown the evolution of things occupying our mindscape in an astonishing manner. And in the end, we are left to wonder about the hard-hitting questions resulting from immense wisdom and humility before the great cosmic mysteries. Sanskrit is extremely beautiful, yet a very sophisticated language. It is as if the gods, humans, and all came together and constructed this language piece by piece to suit the purpose of representing in-depth ideas of philosophy, spirituality, science, and so on. In fact, the word Sanskrit word for Sanskrit, literally means put together, well-constructed, perfected, purified, refined, etc. The words like dharma, karma, yoga, etc. are hard to be translated with just one single meaning, as they represent concepts of deep philosophical, spiritual, scientific thoughts with multitude of meanings. When you word nada, sacred sound, it gives a meaning, renders certain feelings, evokes certain emotion, and finally plays with the consciousness, all which can in no way be translated or interpreted. When worded, the terms nada Brahman or nadopasan, they simply increase the complexity. The word Gabiram gives the mental picture of a deep-sounding abyss of mystery, but the aspirated B, along with accented breathing, evokes a strange feeling while playing with your consciousness. This could be experienced only by Hindus initiated in the traditions since the childhood. When Gahanam is added, it is only increases the complexity, and putting ambas in front of it changes the entire game. So these translations are absolutely incomplete and in no way close to the poetical beauty of these hymns. Number 2, there is this small thing that is nagging me back in my mind, which is probably another paradox. It's the usage of manas, mind, tapas, deep thought, and kama, desire. Since there existed nothing except akam, that one, where from they came? What are they? Mind, deep thought, and desire of who or what. The usage is definite article the, and not possessive pronoun its. It is not its mind, but the mind. It is my inference that we are talking about the mind, the deep thought, and the desire of ekam, that one. I can't even say the word. Vishurshti, the creation, devas, gods, superior beings, humans. If robots created by humans achieve consciousness, then theirs, and so on. It's the collective mind of the unknown, the creation as principle, created, creators, co-creators, materialistic creation as we know of it, and so on. When nothing existed, this collective consciousness, which is supposed to occur only after when the primal mind is created, somehow miraculously manifested itself in the beginning, sought to join and united with ekam, that one. That's the paradox. This concept of collective mind is very well understood in Hinduism. That's why the Mahavakyas, the great sayings, all state the same thing. Prajnanam Brahma, supreme consciousness, is Brahman. Ayam Atma Brahma, this Atma self is Brahman. Tattvam Asi, Thou art that, you are that. Aham Brahmasmi, I, the inner self, is Brahman. All clearly state that I am the infinite reality, therefore I'm divine. As long as I follow Dharma, the eternal divine laws, that's why Namaste means I bow to the Brahman, the divine that resides in you. Number 3, throughout this material, I use the term God or gods for sake of clarity, but as per Hindu understanding of sacred realms, the right term should be divinity or divinities or devatas or devas and devis. In Hinduism, there are millions of such divinities, each representing divine forms of a thing, entity, concept, idea, and so on, such as Agni for fire, Yama for death, Ganesh for knowledge, wisdom, humility, Lakshmi for wealth, Ganga for river, Ganges, Dhanvantari for study of medicine, Vishnu for protection, and so on. The Devata Bhavarita is one such divinity representing cosmogony, the idea of creation, its origin, and so on. With that in mind, now reconsider the last stanza where a dweller, observer, or overseer is mentioned. Who is this dweller? Are they collective of all gods and goddesses? That is devas and devis? Or is it this divinity Bhavarita? If this is the case, then the sages are referring to the creation itself and the events that unfolded since the first stanza. It seems the latter is the case. This stanza is extremely cryptic and concise in nature. In the second line, only the word dade is used. No subject is given, and also this line is the only line which is 2 syllables short. That is, only 9 syllables are there instead of 11. Dade could refer to it is made or self-made, or being held or holding itself, and so on. If we stick to self-made or holding itself, and the dweller or overseer is indeed referring to the creation itself, then it could dramatically change the meaning of the remaining 2 lines. We could translate them as the event, the creation that took abode place in extreme heavens under its own self-observation, self-surveillance, and self-witness. It knows it is self-aware of all the truth and reality, or perhaps even it knows nothing. It is not self-aware at all. Everything happened as a matter of fact by the divine act of cosmic laws and nature. As divine principles, as entities of such complexity, enigma, beauty, full of things waiting to burst out. And they indeed burst out and created this mighty cosmos. Ekam, that one, and Vrishti, the creation, both must be self-aware and all-knowing indeed. In Hinduism and in later scriptures, the creation as principle is viewed as all-knowing ultimate supreme reality, which is the source of supreme consciousness. It is only the sage's skeptical mind at play, proposing, just for the sake of argument, that even it may not be aware of all, which I call the audacious questioning mind. Number 4, the fact often omitted is that when we say the great sages, we are not just talking about spiritual minds, but also scientific minds. In Hinduism, science, spirituality, philosophy, art, and everything lived together hand in hand. In fact, the science and mathematics we have today happened because of these sages' inquiries into spiritual world. Famous example is the designing of Yagnapita, fire altars, and yantras in Buddhism mandalas. These intense geometrical patterns for yagna services wrongly interpreted as sacrifice, but they are acts of offering labor, materials, or oblation, which are vegetal, benign, and auspicious in nature to devas, gods. These designing process involved then a thorough inquiry into geometry and other fields of mathematics. They are called the famous Shobha Sutras, which are part of a larger corpus of texts called the Shota Sutras. The Shrota Sutras, consisting of intense mathematical and other formulas. Famous mathematicians like Aryabhata, grammarians like Panini, who was also a great mathematician, surgeons like Sushruta, and countless others were great sages as well. 0, infinity, Indian numerals wrongly called as Arabic numerals, linguistic, musicology, metallurgy, all happened because of spiritual and philosophical inquiries into this strange, unknown world called spirit world. Whatever knowledge acquired in spiritual and philosophical inquiries went into scientific and mathematical inquiries. Whatever found through scientific and mathematical studies went back into spiritual philosophical studies. There are many examples for this, but the most famous one is of those beautiful bronze statues of Shiva as handsome Nataraj, the cosmic dancer. Here, spirituality, philosophy, science, storytelling, metallurgy, music, dance, all come together to give a complete, holistic human experience about a divine figure. Number 5. When the publication of Karpasa, cotton, in ancient India and other recent research pushed back on the dating of the Vedas by additional 4,000 years, that is putting it around 8,000 to 9,000 years ago, one important aspect that's often overlooked or rather deliberately ignored altogether is the reference to rishis, great sages. In all Hindu scriptures, most of the authors claim that the scripture in question is not their own work. They repeat time and again that they are works of Kavayo, Rishayo, etc., great wise men, sages, seers from ancient past. The author is simply repeating the old work. In this regard, the 4th stanza is very important when the author says, "The sages searched their heart with wisdom." Kavayo, wise men, intellects, seers, Manisha, wisdom. He is speaking of a great lineage of sages preceding him. These sages, his worthy predecessors, for ages continuously searched their heart with intellect to arrive at this conclusion, which was then cross-verified and accepted by other sages. Then, before the author's time, this process of searching and seeking was ongoing non-stop for eons. So this another important clue that indicates the age of the Vedas is in fact much older. In the famous mantra, Satyameva Jayate, truth alone triumphs, from Mundaka Upanishad 3.1.6, this theme is repeating with the line Yena Kramantrishayo Hyapta Kama, meaning the Rishayo, the great sages whose desires have been completely fulfilled, took the divine path of truth, laid out by truth, to reach where the supreme treasure of truth resides, to taste the fruits of supreme truth. These sages relentlessly search, quest, and lust for knowledge. Wisdom and truth is a recurring theme throughout all the sacred scriptures of Hinduism. Number 6, as the hymn begins with questioning the existence and ends with doubting the knowing, it is in fact to be or not to be. That is not the real question, but it is indeed to know or not to know. That is the ultimate question. Knowing, knowledge, that's what makes great intelligent species, great communities, cultures, and civilizations. Vedava na Veda. That's what made this great Vedic Indian civilization. And thus completes this series on the creation story of the Rig Veda. Thank you all for listening. This has been such a great experience relaying this message of the creation story of the Vedas and this very special analysis of it. I felt was very complete. I had searched for the most authentic source of explanation, and I just felt a very good vibration from this one. So I wanted to relay this message, and I would like to just end this by saying Om Namah Indraya and Om Namah Shivaya. Thanks for listening, and you all have a great day.